Good morning. This past Sunday we talked about wisdom. We talked about the wise men. Talked about having a reverence for God. So how are you having a reverence for God? God can handle our questions. He loves when we bring our questions to Him, not just go somewhere else and blither about them, whatever. If you've ever read the book of Job, it's a very interesting read. The first 3 chapters set the whole thing up. There's this kind of bet in heaven between Satan and God. And Job never, even at the end of the book, he doesn't know what the bet was. And basically God's saying, you know, people serve me, Satan, because they love me. Not because of what they can get out of it, because they love me. And Satan says, he wouldn't say heavens no, he would say something else. They serve you because you bless them. And so God starts to remove some of the blessings from Job. And then Job is going through this whole thing. He's got all these counselors coming in just saying, you've sinned, just admit it. And he's not saying he's not a sinner, but it's like, this isn't in response to something that I did. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, it's poetic and everything. And then God finally shows up. And can you imagine if God actually just showed up? I talk about reverence. And he goes, oh, Job, I got a couple questions for you. You answer these, and then I'll answer your questions about pain and suffering on planet Earth. Where were you when I made the earth's foundation? Well, isn't that a good question? Who marked off how big it should be? Surely you know. Who stretched a ruler across it? What were the earth's foundations set on? Yeah, who would have known that we're actually floating in space? That's a whole nother story. I mean, talk about the brilliance of God. And who put His cornerstone in place? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted with joy. So where were you? You know, there's an expression, well, shut my mouth. And that's what happened with Job. Because God went on like this for a long time. He's kind of like, and who stretched out the ostrich's neck and all these different things. So when God talks to Job, He just fills him with all these questions. And not a one of them can Job give a decent answer to. He can't understand any of this. He doesn't know how to answer. And here's the bottom line. And I want to give Max Lucado a shout out for his book, For the Tough Times. Only God defines God. We can try and, you know, we can, and there's times where people have said things to me where you said just the right thing. And it's usually when I said very little in really difficult situations. I found out just recently there's a tragic situation years ago, and I just found out what I said. I didn't remember. I just quoted what it says about Jesus in John's Gospel. Jesus wept. In other words, God gets what you're going through. But me, I'm not. I'm not going to try to explain what I don't understand. What's God saying? He said, you've got to know the alphabet before you're going to be able to read. And you don't even know the ABCs of heaven, much less the vocabulary. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's the reality. God is way above us. And now for the first time, if you've ever read the book, Job is quiet. There's that, well, shut my mouth. So basically God's saying this, as soon as you're able to handle these simple matters of storing stars and stretching the neck of the ostrich, then we'll have a talk about pain and suffering. But until then, we can do without your commentary. So how does Job respond to this? He says, I'm not worthy. I cannot answer you anything, so I'll put my hand over my mouth. Reverence and wisdom. Notice the change. Before God spoke, Job chapter after chapter. When God spoke to him, he was silent and he listened. In 2023, we would do well sometimes when we come to God. It's great to bring our requests. We're called to do that. And it's sometimes we need to kind of pour out our hearts to God. And sometimes we just need to be silent in His presence and realize He alone is God. God bless you. Have a great day. Have a great new year.